going on, everybody? We're back once again with another edition of Off the Air, and we still have elevator music. What in the world is going on, Ben Allison? We get this new swaggy intro over there on the daily. We're heavily featured in it. Clips from this very show, and we're still stuck in the hotel elevator from Vegas. But one thing that is not stuck in the hotel elevators from Vegas is the original crew's back for the first time in many, many weeks. As many of you know, I don't do math, so I'm not going to try to quantify this one. But what I will say, numerically speaking, is get your twos up, because out in the DMV, Shoddy is here. What's going on, Shad?
Yeah, Ben Allison, what the hell is wrong with you, bro? Like, we the most memorable clip in that intro is the clip of me, Clark, and Dryzzy talking about Tiffany Stratton, who commented on the freaking clip, as you can see in the clip, but we don't get that opportunity to have it in the intro. We got to get the elevator music. Nah, bro, we going on strike, man. The show is done. Y'all take care. We'll catch y'all next week.
100%. We got multiple twos in the air, though, already. David Modge has got his twos up. I believe Bobby had his two up back here. We got tons of twos. I love it. But also, before we get started, there's a guy out in Louisville, Kentucky, and I always forget what it is. It was Derby weekend this weekend, so I was trying to remember. But if you can just remind me, what was it again, Driz?
Good morning, afternoon, and evening. It's the guy you should believe in. It is your boy Dryzzy licking his wounds after a trouncing by the voice of Wrestling Republic guy. I don't know what we're calling. I'm not calling him the voice of guy, but by Kobe Galanowski. I'm sad, but on the bright side, I'm fact checking it and I'm giving all lies. They're gonna be thinking the answers are one thing and I'm lying about it. Nope, that's not it. Who did The Rock beat? Who beat The Rock for the WWE title of WrestleMania 17? It was Road Dogg. It was somebody else.
Yep.
It was whoever you thought. I'm lying.
We are gonna keep
Sabotage.
We are gonna sabotage them. Keep them off their game in every way possible. You put up a heck of a fight against a guy like Kobe. Let's be honest. I mean, he also has the advantage of being in Canada. He has to stay indoors for 6+ months a year, basically. So all the time in the world to study. It's just like, it's one of those things. It seems like he's got an unfair advantage.
Like he just always, he was ready. He was ready, and not say I wasn't ready. It's just that some of those questions get hard. Some of those questions truly get hard when you're in the midst of doing it, and you have a certain time frame. It is a big difference. Things that we could just rattle off right now, it's easy. But when you're under pressure or something, it escapes your mind sometimes. So
I mean, don't get me wrong. I took the L in the first round. I had the lead at one stage. I actually blew a lead, which is tough. I had a 13-12 lead at one point, and succumbed to a 5-0 run. That was the ultimate end for me. But it just, the game's difficult. The chip thing is tough.
it can bite you in the butt, and that's what happened with me because I went on a run and then I went big. I went too big, too fast, and
I also, I'm not gonna lie, I was unaware of the fact that you could steal on the chip.
Mm-hmm.
So like that threw me for a loop. I'm not blaming anyone for that. It's probably on me for not really listening when they were saying the rules. I was just like, oh, it's a quiz. I'm just going to give answers. And this is going to work. And that was not exactly how it worked. But let's talk about NXT tonight, guys.
All right.
Let's get into it.
I mean, if you want to.
In our main event, we had Giulia Jordynne Grace, #1 contendership, on the line to face Stephanie Vaquer. Jordynne Grace comes out with the victory, one night removed from seeing Giulia play a major role on Monday Night Raw. I found that interesting. Maybe travel played a factor here. I don't know. At least inside of kayfabe. Nobody mentioned that on the show tonight. found that a little odd, right? As far as commentary was concerned, we saw Giulia yesterday. Real simple, right? Come on, Book. Sorry, whoops. I did not mean to call out Booker T this early in the show. Big fan.
Yeah, come on, Corey Graves.
Yeah, Corey. This is on Corey. I meant to blame Corey the whole time. That's on me. But Shad, talk to me about this main event, and then are you looking forward to Jordynne Grace and Stephanie Vaquer?
Yeah, so the main event was a superb, man, phenomenal match. These are two of the best women in the sport when it comes to professional wrestling, and they delivered, man. They may be in some minds over delivered because they put on a class show, and Giulia to me is a very interesting situation right now because they are doing that thing again where they call people up, but there is not like a full-on call up to it. They just add them and spur the moments. They kind of let them teeter around both shows until they're finally done. And to me, I feel like this was Giulia's swan song. This was maybe her last match on NXT, putting Jordynne Grace over, and now she'll be a full-time member of Monday Night Raw. And that's cool. That's fine and dandy. I have a bit of reservations and a bit of worry just because I think the main roster booking for these women is not as superb as it is on NXT. And I also think Giulia never got a full opportunity to take, a year and some change to be in the NXT umbrella, right? They kind of poached her a little bit quicker. So I hope that she's able to, develop more into the main roster and continue to be that superstar I know she could be. Now, the main event obviously was that, and Jordynne Grace comes out with a win. Jordynne Grace versus Stephanie Vaquer. This feels like a bigger match than a lot of other women's matches are on a Raw, a SmackDown, and a lot of promotions. And that goes full credit to what we have created in NXT. Both of these women have really showed up and showed out. Obviously, they're big names outside of NXT, but them coming into NXT, coming into the WWE, they haven't missed a beat. They haven't skipped a beat. And that's kind of the most intriguing matchup going in to this Battlegrounds card. Because I'm looking at the card up and down, and we'll talk about another match. It feels weak. It doesn't feel as strong. And a lot of it is this holding pattern. And a lot of it, I have to say, goes back to the main roster. Them calling up people maybe prematurely. But also, we haven't talked about it on this show yet. Y'all cutting people loose. You letting go people that are pivotal pieces onto the roster too. And that adds a different element to it as well. So, to me, I look at Jordynne Grace and Stephanie Vaquer, and I look at it as a big-time match for the NXT Women's Championship. But then again, I also look at it, I feel like both of these women might be on Raw or SmackDown in the blink of an eye. So the excitement for it is there because these are two of the best wrestlers, but the excitement isn't up and at them because I feel like, okay, they might not be here, and this might not mean as much as it should be meant because the build doesn't have that tie to it.
Yeah, I really like what you said there, especially about, and not to back all the way up to the beginning of what you said, but you mentioned Giulia, how short of a time she spent in NXT. Deontay Belladonna, she's only been there for 8 months, right? And Bobby even added that he liked the match tonight. Yeah, this Jordynne Grace Stephanie Vaquer match is exactly what you would ask for, and we're obviously going to get into the men's title match later, which is very much
even more underwhelming
in some ways. I do believe this is the main event when it comes to Battleground, and David Maj added that Battleground is going to be good. I think it's almost assuredly the main event. We've also got a comment over on Instagram really quick from Cameron Quinn _15. Can I have your Backlash predictions? Absolutely. Tune in on Friday at noon Pacific, 3 o'clock in the East. That's 8 o'clock in the UK and 9 a.m. for our friends in Hawaii. Check it out then.
I still got it.
100%. No, but Bobby Petito added we lost Eddie Thorpe. Yes, we did. Then here we got. It's strange because Grace Giulia and the former opponent Stephanie Vaquer are some of the most charismatic in the current era of women's wrestling. I agree. I think the Giulia appearing on Raw last night part is as fascinating as anything.
I
to
feel
me.
like Sean got his hands tied a little bit with the booking,
He
just
kind of
because a
is,
lot of it is tied to them going to like,
and
bro.
part
They made a lot of cuts, and that's the honesty with it. And their positioning for these cuts make it seem like they need to fill spots on that main roster, and that's where they're going for the top. And so rightfully so. All right, this is technically developmental. You don't. I can understand the interest of Vaquer being on the main roster. She looked amazing there when she wrestled there. Same with Roxanne. Same with Giulia, and obviously Jordynne Grace. I mean, I'm surprised that she came to NXT first. But when they're so like well engraved in the storylines, it ruins the booking of the show.
Well, and that's something really interesting too that you mentioned. Like, think about, we're also going to talk later about Joe Hendry and Trick Williams at some stage of this show, right?
yeah,
That's very much an NXT versus TNA, and the titles on the line on Joe Hendry's side of the coin here. Jordynne Grace is an NXT superstar at this stage, but it does feel a little bit like TNA versus NXT in some ways still, as short of a time as Jordynne Grace has been here.
a little
Eh,
worlds collide, a little bit
eh,
of a worlds collide.
yeah, and at the same time, now we've got 3 major title matches booked for this card, basically, right?
Mhm.
I said, and I think we all kind of agree that this Jordynne Grace and Vaquer match has to be the main event, logically speaking,
Absolutely, absolutely.
of the bundle. But then where do you place Joe Hendry and Trick Williams? And that's where it gets interesting. I don't know, Drizzy, what are your thoughts on that?
Oh, where do you? The only other logical place that I feel like it would that you would be able to put it and it not be an insult to the match would probably be the beginning of the show. Let that be the match that kicks everything off. Like these two can't wait to get it in each other's face. This is a TNA world title being defended on NXT television. That is a huge deal. I don't think anybody has. I don't even think you happen. I don't. I don't want to say it didn't happen with Kenny when he was the AEW and TNA champion, but who's to say? I don't know. We have to go back and look at the analytics of time to see if that was a true thing or not. But it's a huge deal. I definitely believe that would probably be the best bid to put it in the first, and then somewhere along the line, I feel like the women have earned the main event and deserve it. Oba and Miles Bourne is gonna have to be the the pre main event, the match before the main event. Just because Miles is not Baby Randy Orton is not the star that we want him to be just yet, and the writing's on the wall. You can see it if you've been watching wrestling long enough. You can tell when you have matches that are just, oh, we're just doing this one because we can't make any other moves right now. It's a match you know what's gonna happen, but they're gonna go out there and give you a really good show.
100%. Okay, Deontay Bellatona just got me really good with this. Oba Femi versus Andy Orton.
What
Hey,
I call him? What did
he's
I call
leaning
him
into
first?
that.
Randy Morton.
He's leaning
Randy
into it.
Morton was the good
He's
one.
leaning into that. He was doing the snap
Uh,
suplexes and everything.
power slams. Oh, it's
Yeah,
so
and
funny.
if you just glance and he looks just like him.
Ah,
Absolutely.
I'm gonna
He
talk.
looks like Randy Orton and Kyle Fletcher had a baby.
See,
He
that's
looks
why and that's why I get a little upset because I think he's swagger jacking my boy the prototype heavy. But we'll talk about that later. We'll talk about that later.
well. I was gonna say, let's just sort of loop this in since we already kind of brought it up.
Yeah.
The opener tonight was Hank and Tank tagging with Joe Hendry,
Honk honk.
taking on the Dark State. Dark State gets the win. Trick Williams attacks
Mm.
Joe Hendry mid match, and then obviously we see that come back around during the Battle Royal. But Drizzy, when it comes to this one, a big victory for Dark State, but it was kind of overshadowed by the Trick Williams and Joe Hendry stuff. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely, but it's almost starting to seem like that's a going trend with these dark stake matches. There's something else overshadowing it, like with the whole Javon Trick and Oba match. Dark State was in it, but it really felt like they were an afterthought compared to everything else. And everything else has been going on. Even with the only thing they felt like a big deal in has been in the feud with the family. But even that was overshadowed by Stacks turning. Like I understand you put these guys in a group together to make them feel important, make this whole thing feel important. But they keep on getting put in situations where the other story is overshadowing what you're trying to do with them. It's almost making them seem not important, and that's what's giving them, which I've seen a lot online, that people are referring to them as another retribution. And if they want to save this, they're gonna have to stop trying to put them in situations that are going to make them look like an afterthought to the actual stories. Like they should be a force running through NXT just as the Shield was. Like that's the kind of the big difference between them being the Shield and them being Retribution.
It I agree. And it to your point, it's hard to put your finger on exactly why, but it feels like the idea of just as a group, they're not being featured in a way where it highlights the talent
At all.
necessarily. It's they get wins and they're dominant, but they're like almost, I don't want to say too mysterious because it's not really that either. But
I
it's
didn't
like
want to. I wouldn't want to
there's
say they're mysterious because, well, half the group is.
yeah,
Whenever we see, I'll say this: whenever Saquon Shirkus is on TV, he makes the most of every bit of time he gets.
yes,
And is it Osiris? Uh, the
Osiris Griffin, I think.
is it Osiris Griffin?
yes,
He makes a big impact,
yeah.
but the other guys become forgettable after a while.
And it there doesn't seem to be a purpose
There's
yet.
no mission statement. There's no
Yeah, there's
objective.
no this is why.
They're just doing stuff to be doing it.
The-
Yeah.
I think the issue is also they should be winning in dominance, just pure dominance of theirs to be a force to reckon with, and then they got to go in there, wreck havoc, open up and destroy, like like really clean house if that's how we're gonna book them to be, if you want to keep that allure and mysteriousness. But to me, I would honestly, Triple H's favorite word, pivot the direction of how you present them a little bit. Take the allure of them being, as like all the lights and the mask and stuff, and just make them kind of like, like the Rowdy Rough Boys. You ever watch the Powerpuff Girls? Like make them the Rowdy Rough Boys. Rough around the edges, angry. You let Saquon be the loudmouth, talking his talk, and just that's how you present them. I don't think the issue with a lot of what WWE is they sometimes hyper focus on this, like, really dark and edgy and mysterious aspect to it, and then it becomes like cheesy. They overdo it in a way, and sometimes it takes the wrestler to kind of bring it back. Like Karrion Kross, for instance, I think he's been the epitome of wheeling it back a little bit, adding more substance and more of a reason to the character, and the fans like it. The same thing will probably be with Aleister Black. He's more of a dark lord where he's kind of like grungy, of a badass rather than, a bootleg Undertaker. Like you can have a lot of that be what like the Y6 is, but they're not the Y6. Like these guys aren't spooky. They're just three freaking Division 1 athletes and an indie wrestler. Like there's nothing spooky about them besides that they are rocking a shiesty with a like a skeleton on it or whatnot.
Yeah. I think you brought up a great point there. I'd love to see a little bit more cockiness.
Yeah.
Like, no, like we know we've got strength in numbers and we're gonna whoop you. Like that's the way it's gonna be.
And to that point, why wouldn't it be that? You got
Yeah.
you got three dudes who are bigger and stronger than legitimately anybody they go against. Like Osiris Griffin is a big MFer. Like respectfully, the dude is huge. He's 6'3", 250, all muscle. The other, what's Buddy's name? The Clark Kent, the fake Clark Kent dude.
Dion Lennox.
Dion Lennox, right? Right. He's all power moves. That's his whole shtick, right? So do that for him. And then the other guy, Jay Cutler, Brandon Cutler, Dominic Cutler. I don't know what the hell your name is. LFG.
Jay Cutler,
LFG
Brandon
guy.
Cutler, Jay Cutler, Brandon
Jay
Cutler,
Cutler.
Jay Cutler,
Yeah,
Jay Cutler, Brandon Cutler, Cutlass James, Lakers
Cutler
at
James.
5.
Brandon Marshall.
He's also a big dude. But the thing is this, and Drizzy brought it up. You got to let Saquon Sugars be the de facto leader because he's the only guy out of the team that has an undeniable charisma to him, and he has the confidence and can cut a promo open mic. The other three dudes, they struggle off of the believability as soon as they talk, and that's a problem. Okay, but you can fix that because they're so big. Zip it up and let him talk for him.
This is where you don't need to have everybody having a conversation. When the Shield first started, everybody wasn't talking. It was just Ambrose. They did cool stuff afterwards. Let them do cool stuff. Let them have matches that they're not the afterthought of. Like, what's wrong with having a 6-man tag against the no quarter catch crew?
Right.
There's somebody who aren't doing anything right now and can eat that loss to help.
Or metaphor. Whoops.
Oh man.
Sorry.
Too soon.
Didn't mean to ruin it.
I mean, putting them first off, I really felt like putting them in the ring with Hank and Tank was an issue as well because they just got those tag titles.
Yeah.
And I mean, and I guess also that could be a big deal, a direction to go, but putting them against but you put them in a match with the TNA World Champion who's in a feud with one of the bigger heels in NXT right now and was taken out of that match. So they need help. This unstoppable force needed help.
Honestly, this match, it should feel more significant them winning tonight than it is. Because they did beat, like Jersey Boy, they beat 3 people with gold on their waist, but it's just the booking of it was weird, bro. Like I'm sorry. Like I promise you, I love NXT. Y'all know I love NXT, but I gotta call a spade when stuff is not booked well.
Mm-hmm.
It is weird, and I think we're all three on the same page here, which is like it's not that rare, but when it comes to something like this, right? Like usually there's one of us that's like, but I see that. I think we're all kind of on the same page there. Like there's something
like they're taking us out of
fixable.
it.
Yeah,
it's fixable
though, which is the frustrating part.
Yeah, they're so new too. I think, like I even said it in our in a group chat. I was like, I think here's the thing. I'm not like saying it's the end of the world. I think I'm more confident that this unit can grow and gel and have success for all of these guys more than they're going to fail. Whether they become a unit and succeed or whether this is the first step to get them all confident and then they all branch out and become stars separately. Like, I think it's the right thing to do. So, because I think Saquon Sugars adds something that can benefit all of those guys. And I think that's why they made this a team, because it's one of those, like, we need you to rub off on these guys so they can have a little bit of what you have.
Right. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I hear you there. Okay.
Pause.
Let's talk quickly
pause on that. Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
What?
It is a little bit of a pause. It's all good.
Whatever. Well, let's talk about Kalani Jordynne and Zarya. Speaking of pausing. So Sol Ruka hanging out with Zarya, they're buddies. We've learned that over the course of the last few weeks. I was saying this watching the show with Driz earlier. Why don't we give Kalani Jordynne enough credit when it comes to this bundle of NXT talent as far as being probably the best one bell to bell? Her selling is off the charts. The spear through the barricade, all of this match, she was as good as you could ask. Out of the NXT women's division, we forget she's held that North American women's title. We forget how good she is. Every time we talk about potential call-ups, it's not Kalani. I understand her strength isn't necessarily the microphone, but she can wrestle anybody in the world. And I'm blown away every single time I see her go out there. We talk a lot about Sol Ruka. Obviously, Sol was involved in the barricade spot there. Sol Kalani, I could watch wrestle probably 1,000 times over. I hope that's the direction we're headed. But I don't know. Driz, I'll start with you. What were your thoughts on this one? And then I'll get to you next, Shot.
I really feel like this match made all right. So as we just got done talking about Dark State being put in positions of to be made to not feel important, they're putting Kalani in positions to make her feel tough. I feel like yes, she is this. She was this smiling, happy to be here, babyface. But now they're looking to give her that mean streak, the aggression, the ability to just be able to stand up and fight against the tougher women in the division. And first off, being speared through a barricade, they normally save that for the toughest of the tough. And Kalani took that like a G. I'm absolutely they're absolutely making her out to be a monster, and Zarya was the perfect person to do it. They've humanized her enough. It's time to let Zarya be the monster that destroys people, and Kalani's tough now. Tough, too tough Kalani. That's it.
100%. I mean, dude, like as an athlete, I don't know if there's a better athlete in the women's division than Kalani Jordynne, if you really think about it. Like the stuff she can do. We talk about Javon Evans and how crazy he was in the battle royal, which we'll get to next. But
Mhm.
Kalani's like on par with that kind of athleticism, and she's not one of the. And I don't want to like body shaming here or anything, but like she's not one of the smaller women that can like fly through the air like that. Kalani's tall and long and can fly,
Mhm.
which is I think unique. It is I think underappreciated. Now Zarya obviously being a powerhouse that she is, getting the win here. It was a heck of a match. But Shaw, what were your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I mean, Kalani is kind of playing a bit of the Ricochet role when he was in WWE. She's just such a good worker, and she's such a good like dance partner that sometimes it comes in disposal for how far they view her, or how far they're going to book her. And then you mentioned a big part of it. A lot of it is the fact that they might not view her as a main event woman because they feel like she lacks in some assets within being able to cut a promo, being a character. But I don't disagree with a lot of what you're saying, Clark. I think she has kind of showed that her in-ring ability should kind of solidify her in a higher rank than she is. And going into this match, the story is obviously this whole Sol Ruka and Zarya dynamic. Eventually, they're going to break up, and it'll be Sol Ruka and Zarya. But I'm going to be honest with you because it's been a few months now, and I've given this woman an opportunity to kind of show what she can showcase, and I'm allowing them to kind of book how they booked her. I don't see the main event appeal of Zarya. I'm just gonna be real with you. I think she's a powerhouse. I think she might have a cool aesthetic, but I don't feel that you know that that same wrestler that they were kind of talking about being a Vicaire or a Giulia. Like it kind of makes sense in a way. There's a reason why Giulia is being called up on Raw immediately right now, and they're putting her in this position. There's a reason why Vicaire had two straps. Giulia had the strap, right? Like I see that star quality in them, and I see them kind of gel better into it. For Zarya, I haven't seen it gel on NXT as much as it has been pitched to me. And maybe they need to kind of pivot and go in a different direction. Maybe she needs to go more heel and she can grow into that. But this whole storyline with Sol Ruka, it like they're trying to make it like the whole Daniel Bryan and Kane aspect to it. But I don't think it's like meshed to that level. Like I feel like it's more, cheeky, cutesy, and
Right.
it just hasn't drawn my attention that much.
Mm.
To
You're
your point,
absolutely. He's
even through
absolutely
all
right.
this, Sol Ruka feels like the star still of the
She
two.
is. She
Yeah,
Right.
without a doubt.
she's the Daniel Bryan in this situation,
She
and
shouldn't lose that belt to her
This
either.
comment is one of the I couldn't agree more. She's a Perry Saturn to me in reference to Zarya. Yes, Raven's flock. All I can think is Raven's flock, and then that is a great old school shout out. Perry Saturn, and that's no disrespect. Perry Saturn was great, could go. Zarya
Yeah.
can go. She's awesome, but just not. She's not that main event tier.
Yeah.
I think the issue is she's that fourth player coming in. So we brought in Giulia, we brought in Stephanie Vaquer, we brought in Jordynne Grace, and now we have Zarya. And Zarya is definitely a big name on the lower half of the world. But when you get up here, when you got all those other big names, everybody can't go straight to the main event scene.
Exactly.
And I also feel the Daniel Bryan Kane call is absolutely correct. The issue is Daniel Bryan and Kane worked because they had history. Kane had history. Zarya just got here and we're already trying to humanize her and make her not this giant monster that she's supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
Like that didn't
Yeah.
give her a
It's
chance to be
too
the monster.
early.
Like, why does
That
she wear
didn't
face paint all the time when they're at the beach?
Yeah,
Like, why
it's gonna
they
mess up the tan.
like it? And it's one of those things where it's like, all right, like we talked about in the start of the show, these people are being called up at the top of the card, right? So once you lose Vaquer, you lose Giulia, you lose Roxanne, you lose Jordynne Grace. Now it's this next batch. Now they're presumably looking at Zarya to kind of take over the reins after that. Do I think she can do that as of now? No. I would have more confidence in a Sol Ruka, a Jada Parker, a Lash Legend, without a shadow of a doubt. I see more potential and shelf life for those three women in the WWE as main eventers than I do for her. And I know a lot of people might be a little, upset about that because she was a big signing because everybody
Yeah,
knows every single wrestler in the world because everyone is a damn genius and Shad don't know much. But I know this much. I know what I'm watching and I don't see what y'all like. All
I
right.
know. I hear you. I hear you. I hear you. Okay, let's get into our main events of the evening. It wasn't the main event of the evening, but it was a heck of a battle royal.
Ooh.
Trick Williams was our first entrant, and then we had a commercial break. And following that commercial break, the ring was full of people. So we got one entrance. It was good. Whoop that trick. We dug it while it happened. Did not have Miles Borden winning on my bingo card. Heck of a final four. We had the two former AEW guys. We had Spears and mostly ego Ethan Page. Died Scott Hall, as I like to call him. And then we had, of course, Javon Evans, Miles Bourne, Underdog, Eddie Thorpe replaced in the Battle Royal by, I don't know. Somebody earlier in the comments said that they only counted 24 entrants and there were supposed to be 25. Maybe they just, in honor of Mr. Thorpe, they were like, that's the deal. We're going with one short. I don't know. Joe Hendry did make his entrance during the match, which of course caused the Trick Williams elimination. And after the match, we had some shenanigans involving an Obafemi booked match, but we'll get to that. The net of it is Miles Bourne, the underdog. Unlike the Kentucky Derby, we had a long shot victory here. Drizzy, I'm going to go to you first on this one. Miles Bourne, what in the wide world of sports did we just see?
Miles Bourne ran the race and pulled it off at the last minute. I want to talk about that final four. That was actually a very good final four. The last eliminations of Ethan Page and Ty Dillinger, Sean Spears. That was such a creative way to get rid of both of them, but it does this. It kind of gives me more questions now. So is this the end of the No Quarter Catch Crew? Is this the start of the ascent of Miles Bourne? Javon Evans absolutely amazing in this. This was one of the better booked battle royals we've seen in a while. I mean, nothing was crazy, but also giving guys like Sean Legacy a chance to show off, bringing back Elijah. It was they did a lot in this time frame, and I think this was a really good battle royal. Again, there are a little bit more questions than answers for the Miles Born aspect of it, but they're pleasant questions. It's always good to see something like this build a star, and that's
Yeah,
kind of what this look like he's gonna do. The next steps are crucial. What are we about to do? Clearly we are aware that Miles Born is not going to win the NXT
yeah,
title, but you have a chance to do some really fun things now that you've given Miles Born this signature win.
100%. And I think what made this one really fun is, like you said, it was a really well booked battle royal because all the eliminations made logical sense.
Hmm.
It was also when you have that many people in the ring. This wasn't Royal Rumble style where you're looking at like 10 in the ring at most. Everybody was in there,
And everybody
and,
started off.
and it could have gotten messy in spots. Everything was really well executed. I was
Hmm.
actually impressed by that across the board, especially given the mix of talent as you mentioned.
We had one scary spot. Brooks Jensen
Yes,
eliminating I can't think of who it was. I want to say it may have been Tyree or Tyson.
that
And
went over
he
the top,
literally
and he landed on his chest.
yes, he landed like and Jensen cleared the rope. It's just that after that they just too
Yeah,
top heavy and feeling it
the
looked bad, but I'm
the
hoping both
landing
guys
was
are okay.
nasty. I
Yeah.
think it was more of a win knocked out of you situation. That's what I'm hoping.
Mm,
Obviously, because it didn't look like that they brought out medical staff.
mm,
So I'm hoping that it just looked worse than it was. But to your point, that was the one spot where both of us cringed when we were watching it.
mhm.
Like at least, I think Shoddy, even you were there during that, right? Like that was not it at all. But
Yeah.
at the same time, well, wait. Also, I will say it did look a little bit like Wesley might bang the back of his head on the announce table
Yes,
on
yes,
that.
yes.
I
Yeah,
forgot about
that
that one.
too.
There
Yeah.
were two. Yeah, I was just saying. I was running through in my head. I'm like, I think I'm missing one. Yeah, no. Wesley definitely hit the deck as hard as you can ask somebody to. But look, Miles Bourne with the victory. It was interesting shot. You looking forward to Bourne and Femi?
Nah, I'm not. I'm not excited for the proto typo. Not the prototype Kyle Fletcher, the
The
proto typo.
prototypo, stop it.
Yeah, Miles Bourne. Get him out of here, man. Nah, you know, it's one of these like you throwing spaghetti at the wall, and if you're seeing it can stick. I feel like the long game is obviously something in regards to Dempsey and him, and probably another group being broken up potentially. I don't know, but it's one of those cases where it's like we're running back into the same problem in a sense with the men's division. Lack of depth, lack of heads that can really, fill that main roster side. Obadon went through all the top guys already. Who else is he really there to go against? Right? Ricky, he can't go against because he's the North American champ. The other dudes are about the same rank as Miles Bourne. So it's kind of just one of those cases where it's like, yeah, it's a bit of a homegrown guy shocking the world and getting that opportunity. But you're not selling me excitement for him and Obafemi for a battlegrounds. I'm sorry. It's just you're going head to head against AEW's Double or Nothing that same day, right? We can't just shy away from that. And if you're gonna tell a consumer, a wrestling fan, that this is our main event potentially, Miles Bourne versus Obafemi, but on the other show, they got Hangman versus Will Ospreay. People ain't gonna tune into it potentially, man. It's one of those things where like you look. This is where it feels a little bit more developmental than it does booking for a premiere show, and that's kind of where a bit of worrisome I have towards it because if the more people you poach, because if they poaching these women, they're gonna poach Obafemi at some point, respectfully, as they should. They're gonna poach Trick Williams, respectfully, as they should. Javon Evans, Same case could be the same thing for him, right? There's spots
Tony D.
Tony D, like there's spots to be filled that you can fill it on the main rosters with the men's division too. But then you look at the NXT division, you're going paper thin. And I don't know if Miles Bourne can fill that void. You know, I don't know. I don't have an attachment to him as a wrestler. Not yet.
Now I am looking forward to Oba squashing Charlie Dempsey.
Yes, so yeah, that's gonna be fun.
I would rather see that match at Battlegrounds.
Fair. That's fair.
You're not wrong.
Dempsey deserves the opportunity more than Miles Bourne does.
I think Bourne will actually put on the better match.
You're not wrong. But
Dempsey as a character deserves it more.
I think personally for me, it's just that I love when you get stuff out of the left field that potentially could create a star. Like if we remember how Ali got his big break, how Kofi Kingston got how Kofi Mania started because of a injury to Mustafa Ali.
Yeah, for the ladder match.
Now this something out of left field, winning this battle royal. Who knows? This could sit there and launch Miles Bourne into the main event scene or the North American title scene. Both are good titles to be a part of.
Not to be this guy, but am I the only one that thought Eddie Thorpe was booked to win this battle royal?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Right.
The way he was cutting promos and everything, I would have been on board.
Eddie Thorpe was gonna win this battle royal.
Yo, and look, man, people can say what they want to say about Eddie Thorpe, and I've made my jokes towards him, but that's a guy who willed his way through and started to gain a little bit of care from the fans because he showed a character for it. He does what he does with his match. And for y'all to just kind of cut him loose, I'm sorry, bro. It's lame as hell. That's someone that you could have kept on the roster for an extended time. You need bodies.
This reeked of Miles Bourne winning, reeked of Eddie Thorpe was the plan. Right? I mean, that's just it had it written all over it in my eyes. That's all I could think.
It would have made more sense for Eddie Thorpe to be in that main event for sure.
You could do it the same exact way too, with the same Final Four. That was the trippy part to me. Is they just picked Miles Bourne to play the role of Eddie Thorpe there, because you could have done it the same way.
Now, I do want to say a couple things though in regards to the battle royal.
Go ahead.
I like Sean Legacy a lot. I think that dude is really damn
showed
good.
Out.
He was my okay, yeah. That's somebody that you might need to get him out of Evolve and throw him on NXT and let him kind of cook up a little bit because he's got a little bit of that Javon Evans style of athleticism in the ring. And obviously I think those two have a bit of a chemistry, friendship.
You know what he kind of reminds me of? It's a more high flying type of a younger Buddy Matthews in some ways. With maybe a higher ceiling, but still.
For sure. No, I agree with that. And then, bro, Elijah, man, for the vibes, that was so dope to see, man.
And welcome home chance.
Welcome home chance. That was so sick to see. And then Inamura.
Oh, that was a big story in this whole thing too. Inamura and Briggs. It's officially over, y'all.
It's over. I loved Brooks Jensen being the one to deliver the news too, and then Inamura actually turns on him in the first place, and not what we expected. You expected Briggs to be the angry one, and Inamura was like, "No, it's over."
Yeah, man. Inamura, bro, that's a guy who literally, when you talk about these partnerships with NXT, working with TNA, and now they're going to work with AAA. Inamura is obviously from Pro Wrestling Noah. I think you can argue he was probably the best partnership wrestler coming into NXT out of all of them.
He is going back to Noah, though. Isn't that kind of the scoop?
Yeah, he is. But he's coming back as a way bigger star now, bro.
Yeah.
Because what that man did in NXT, given the time and opportunity,
great.
Absolutely amazing. He showed why, one, he's an incredible pro wrestler, but two, he has a bit of charisma that is so I really want to root for this guy because he's such a cool, fun-loving character in a sense.
He embodies even the old school, just when you think of Japanese wrestling, the Japanese fighting spirit type thing. like the
Yeah.
honor, the respect, but in like a cool way, not like the corny over the top way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like he embodies it in a very cool way. And I love the sumo aspect because he doesn't look like a sumo wrestler, but he is.
Yeah.
I think
Right?
that would have
I
been a
think
good
that's
way
very
to.
cool.
I think that would have been a good way to go too, in opposed to Miles Bourne, maybe Inamura for his farewell match
Would have
before
been
he goes
amazing.
back.
Oh my God, Inamura and Obafemi would be crazy. I ain't gonna lie.
Crazy.
That joint would have been. That would have been kind of a. That would see. That's a match that moves me because I know Oba's gonna win, but still, like I know I'm gonna enjoy the match
You're gonna get a
for
really
what
good
it
show.
is.
Yeah.
And this is not saying that Miles Bourne isn't gonna put on a good show. It's just that I feel like taking somebody who's actively in a tag team and opposed to somebody who is gonna be in the main spotlight somewhere else soon would be the better move.
I mean, I hate to say it, like,
Go ahead.
just thinking of all of the people available and we're doing all this TNA crossover, I'm like, can't we get like, given all the releases and we've talked about the division being thin and everything, can we get like Nick Nemeth and Obafemi?
Yeah,
Just
Mustafa
if we're gonna do
Ali,
Mustafa Ali,
Mike
yeah, like
Santana.
Santana, thank you.
I
Yeah,
think
like
Santana,
let's if we're gonna dip into that division, let's dip into it.
Yeah, man. Like you saw literally the Nick is probably the one, to be honest with you.
Would have been perfect.
He obviously is, regardless what anybody wants to say, Ziggler is one of the most underrated WWE superstars of all time. Like one of the best in-ring workers, one of the best dance partners, one of the best characters. Like the dude was an absolute like champ throughout it all. And then he had the little short run in NXT before obviously he was let go with the whole helping establish Braun Breaker. That's the perfect guy to work with Obafemi. He can work that style. He's gonna make Oba look absolutely amazing in the process. Like that would have been the one. Him, Santana also is one that I personally would want just because I want Mike to get an opportunity to wrestle on the WWE.
Slater, Eddie Edwards as well. Like, yeah, I mean, there's
Eddie
a lot
Edwards
of
not a bad one either.
Yeah, I mean, well, Leon Slater.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah.
Shit, that's the one actually.
Yeah,
Nah,
like,
but I need Leon versus Javon still, bro.
Yeah, yeah. Do you think they could fly over each other somehow at the same time?
They might be able to. I need Leon to win the X Division title,
Around?
and then Javon goes over there, and they wrestle over there. But yo, question: is Trick and Joe happening at Battlegrounds, or is this happening on TNA?
It's happening at
Oh,
Battlegrounds.
so it's happening on Battlegrounds. So
first time ever the TNA title defended. Ava announced that.
Oh wow, that's pretty big. I think the WWE needs to be needs to be kind of careful though, because I don't want them to dilute Joe Hendry's appearance in a way, But I'm gonna cut it slack here because I actually do think Joe Hendry and Trick Williams has been a very well built feud against each other.
And with the Rebellion thing, the way they ended Rebellion, you had to have that match.
For sure.
Right. Obviously, we saw the interactions tonight, but like to me, that was like the key to that whole show, right? To me, Rebellion was not one of the better TNA shows, and that's no knock on the talent or anything like that. It wasn't one of my favorite by any means. But the ending there was like, okay, we're gonna get Trick Williams and Joe Hendry. Where is the question? I like that it's on home turf for Trick.
For sure. That's gonna be interesting to see. That's gonna be a good match in regards to like the build for it. I don't know if the match quality will be the best, but it's two polarizing popular figures. Both entrances are gonna go ballistic in that building.
For sure. I will say though, I think that's gonna bring us to the end of tonight's show, my friends. Thank you everybody that tuned in. Happy Tuesday night. We'll be back same time, same place next week. Check out all of our stuff here on WR. If you haven't liked and subscribed already, please do. On behalf of me, Clark, Shad, Drizz, everybody at WR, have an excellent Tuesday night, and we will talk to you soon.